One of the most successful comedy groups of the internet age is The Lonely Island. For years, they've been creating inventive music videos starring a whole slew of celebrity guests, gaining them over 2 billion views and millions of subscribers. But in recent years, we haven't heard much about them. So, what happened? Well, to understand where the group is now, we'll first have to take a look at where it all started. Akiva, Jorma, and Andy have been friends since middle school, and once they graduated, they had trouble getting work in the entertainment industry in LA. So instead of doing nothing, they created The Lonely Island to produce their very own content. They put a lot of early content on the internet before YouTube even existed, so they're arguably one of the earliest adopters of online video.
You just won the lottery! That's kablamo! You get shit in Doherty! That's kablamo! You joined a sorority! That's kablamo! You lied about the lottery! Not kablamo! You met Fred Siegel at a debutante's ball! You gave him your number! He gave you a call! He told you to meet him at the corner at 8! You met him at 9! That's right, you were late!
That video may not seem like much now, but you have to realize that it was done in 2011. A time when people weren't making skits of quality unless it was financially backed by someone. Firstly, the cost of making content of that quality was very steep back then. A digital camera and a computer with the specs to edit that all together would have been thousands of dollars. Plus, they had to know how to use those tools. They were onto something before social media platforms were available to share their content. So in the early days, while they received some views online, they mostly relied on local short film festivals to broadcast themselves. For the first few years, they were making these videos for free, hoping that someday it would lead to actual employment and somebody picking up their videos. And the stars started to align in 2005. The first thing that happened was that their videos built them some street cred in the LA comedy scene, leading to the three of them gaining employment as writers for the 2005 MTV Movie Awards. The event was hosted by Jimmy Fallon, who was impressed so much by the three that he got them auditions for Saturday Night Live. The second thing that happened in 2005 was the birth of YouTube, the website that could finally give them a huge online audience for their videos. Upon starting their account, they quickly became one of the site's most popular channels. Looking back now, these two occurrences led to some of the greatest comedy hits of the internet age, with YouTube providing them the platform for them to go viral, and SNL giving them the resources to make the videos of their dreams. When they moved to New York City for Saturday Night Live, Akiva and Jorma were hired on as writers, and Andy was seen to have more star potential, so he became a cast member. Most people on SNL focus on the live sketches that the series is known for, but the Lonely Island gang instead kept on doing the pre-recorded videos on their own, which would be called digital shorts. One of their first skits was called Lazy Sunday, which was immediately uploaded to YouTube by a random account after release. At the time, it was one of the most popular things ever to be uploaded, and that's not an exaggeration. Unfortunately, NBC didn't appreciate the opportunity that they had and deleted the viral clip off of YouTube, without them releasing an official version. In the future, however, the Lonely Island gang would make arrangements ahead of time so that they would be allowed to release their music videos onto their YouTube account after they aired live on the show. By 2009, these digital shorts were often the highlight of Saturday Night Live. One of the biggest reasons for their success was their unprecedented access to talent for their digital shorts. Unlike other YouTubers at the time who had no backing by a big studio or company, since Andy Samberg was on SNL, he was able to get musical guests for his videos, like T-Pain for I'm on a Boat, Nicki Minaj for The Creep, and Michael Bolton for Captain Jack Sparrow. They were on a roll in both the mainstream and internet world. Their videos were getting millions of views, and Andy was becoming a true celebrity over these years. The fate of the Lonely Island project would be at risk though in 2012, when their contracts were up with Saturday Night Live and they decided to leave the show. Despite some difficulties, they were able to make one more album in 2013, most notable for the song YOLO with Kendrick Lamar. Even with that, they all started to pursue projects on their own, which made collaborations less frequent. In 2016, they did try making a new music film called Pop Star Never Stop Stopping. Despite good reviews, it failed miserably. The movie was making fun of pretty boy pop star documentaries, but I'm not sure everyone understood it was a parody, leading to the poor results. Since 2016, we haven't seen much from The Lonely Island other than the occasional small video or two. But even though the group isn't that popular anymore, that doesn't mean that each cast member hasn't had their own projects. Let's first take a look at Andy Samberg, easily the most famous of the three, who has been starring in his very own show for years now. Brooklyn Nine-Nine has long 22-episode seasons. On top of this, he's guest starred on multiple other shows and a mockumentary. So with that kind of time commitment dedicated to these projects, it's no surprise that he hasn't been working on much music. Now let's take a look at Akiva, who recently created his very own TV show Alone Together, which I honestly had never heard of before. IMDb says it's about two not-so-young socially awkward millennials. I watched the trailer and honestly I'm not interested in watching it. Finally, we're at Jorma, who is working with Will Forte on making MacGruber 2, a film I'm surprised is getting a sequel since the original lost money at the box office, not even cracking $10 million. Another thing that people need to realize is that these guys are getting older. All members of the group are now in their 40s, and the oftentimes childish comedy style of the band I think may start to lose its edge with middle-aged men. This isn't a knock on them, but rather another explanation of them going their separate ways in terms of projects. In conclusion, every fan of SNL needs to give The Lonely Island credit for getting the ball rolling on having the show's sketches up on the internet. They showed the old guys at NBC that this new platform can bring life into the show. They may have deleted Lazy Sunday when it first was uploaded, but 8 years later it was once again put back on YouTube. Even if The Lonely Island does come back at some point or another, I am realistic and understand that they'll never reach the heights that they did in the early 2010s. At the end of the day though, an occasional new video from time to time is good enough for me.